All right, welcome to Microsoft Teams Tips and Tricks. This is part of our summer webinar series. I'm Chris Burns. I'm from Techie Gurus, as you can see there. I've got my camera working today. Last week I failed at that, and I also failed at the way of scrolling simple slides, so let's work on that. If you want to reach out to us, info@techiegurus.com. You can follow us on social media. I'll be honest, our Twitter kind of sucks right now. We're in the middle of revamping that. We're posting a lot more to Facebook and LinkedIn, and we're posting all this stuff to YouTube. So please go there, subscribe. If we get 100 subscribers, we can then get a vanity URL. So we'll try to get youtube.com/techiegurus. So until then, the Cutly link below will work. I'll post, we'll post this too on the YouTube channel, but if you want to take that down. So, all right, so what are we here for today? All right, so in this current climate, we're struggling with how do we work collaboratively as a team. I can't talk today. I'm going to provide some tips for working inside of Microsoft Teams, working from home, sharing files, being able to collaborate effectively inside of that. And then I'll show you a little bit of a demo of how we use it internally because it's our primary communication tool. You're probably wondering at this point, why are we on a Zoom meeting if we're talking about Teams? And that's a great question. Teams doesn't currently integrate with our marketing platform. So we have to use Zoom, and plus when doing a demo, it's a little bit easier to do it from a different platform. So my humor might sometimes be considered appropriate. I try to keep it as clean as possible, so bear in mind that. I'm always going to be focused on security. So one thing that you'll find with us is we're a security-focused company first, and we make exceptions to security only when absolutely necessary. So we'll also be emailing out reminders of this. And like I said, this will be on YouTube probably in a day or two. It takes a little bit. We cut it up and then we add some things to it. So this is our schedule. Last week we did a time to train. Gave some free online training tips that people can go out and use this time wisely to try to, improve your either professional or personal goals. Next week, we're going to cover work from home security. We don't have a plan to change the schedule, but the schedule itself will remain the same. We may change topics. It depends on how things are going and what feedback we get. So let's talk about the agenda today. So today, we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams. Microsoft actually released it for free for when COVID really started taking place. It's not, the free version really is something that you just use as just a communication tool. You don't really host meetings with it. But if you're an Office 365 subscriber, you should get Teams unless you only do email. So if you do anything that involves email or even, yeah, see, I messed the slides up again. So, whoops, sorry about that. And I went too far. Okay, resetting that. Teams is included with Office 365. Depends on what product you're buying, but for the most part, even the cheaper Business Essentials one has it. So we use it internally for communication, for collaboration, for day-to-day just work. My team is separated right now. Sometimes we're socially distancing in the office. Some people are still working from home 100%. So it's the way that we actually run our business. We can do meetings from that. We can also just jump on a quick call. So we'll kind of go over that in a little bit. And then what is it good for? So topics for the day, collaboration. It really is king. When you're in the office, it's really easy to walk up to somebody. You can go in a conference room. You can collaborate. You can sit there and do that. Right now, that's not possible. So we're dealing with a situation today that we have to be dispersed. Our workforce has to be in the office. They have to be at home. Maybe they're at a coffee shop. Maybe they're out of the state. You can use a lot of tools for this. So you can use Slack. Slack is a very popular one. Teams is Teams' top competitor. Microsoft is trying to end that, but we'll see how that goes. Zoom is mostly just for webinars and like meetings and things like that. It's not the full package like Slack and Teams. We'll kind of cover that a little bit when I do a demo later. But for conceptual reasons, it's a way to work collaboratively. So let's look at the business perspective and keep it a little bit realistic. Remember the eternal project triangle we talked about last week? Any change to one side impacts the other two. So again, if you want cheap, it's going to probably take longer. The quality is going to go down as an example. That said, the opportunity today is unique for organizations. Takeaway number one, how engaged is your workflows today? Being on the phone is great, but being able to see people is better. So with Teams, you can actually engage in video conferencing as well. All they need is a video webcam. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from a tablet. You can do it from Android or iOS. It doesn't matter. So it allows you to kind of get that interaction that you can't get just on the telephone. Can your workforce use the product is an important aspect. Teams is super simple to use, but it is very powerful. So from a chat perspective, it's really easy, but there's a lot more advanced things you can do with it. Anytime you introduce this into a business, it's going to change the workflow that you deal with, and there's probably going to be some negative feedback with it. So what you have to do is you have to have a champion in the company, probably as the executive level, that is really leading this charge. And you want to look for low-hanging fruit. Don't jump into Teams or Slack or anything like that and just start using the full product immediately. Pick something that you want to do. Like maybe it's just communicating on a day-to-day basis. Like, hey, what are you working on? Or something like that, and start there. And then you can kind of go through the training and figure out where it works in your workflow and kind of adjust it from there. And then find out ways to make it fun. Everybody's stressed out right now between being at home and trying to figure out how to work and things like that while not being at the office, not having that water cooler talk. So try to keep it fun. These links we'll post actually in the YouTube comment section. It's a lot easier to do, but the first one is a 7-part series by Microsoft. It's awesome. It goes through a lot of training. The next 2 are instructor-led training. So the first link gives you to an event builder where you can just register for live training with an instructor. They cover everything. You can kind of choose topics on the third link. So these are really cool from a perspective of you can just jump in and kind of the 7-part series is really nice to go through because you can watch one video at a time. You don't have to watch them all. And they aren't a series, so you can save it to like a Google account or something like that you want to just to watch it. So takeaway number 2 is take some time for the training. Again, that's free training. There's no cost to you. It's just a little bit of time. The instructor-led is going to get you a little bit further along than just like watching the videos, but it's something just to take advantage of just because it is free and there's time for it. Plus, you still have to figure out how it fits in your business. What aspects do you want to use today and maybe what aspects do you want to use next quarter? You can make a plan inside. So what is collaboration? It's the action of working with someone to produce or create something. Today, a lot of us, we need to work on Excel spreadsheets or presentations or Word documents, things basically office nature. Without pre-Office 365, you couldn't really collaborate effectively. Somebody would have to update the file and save it, and then I'd have to go open it, and then I'd have to make my changes and do a markup and things like that. With Office 365 in particular, you can both be in the document at the same time. It doesn't matter where you are. So as long as it's stored in SharePoint, you can both be in the document and be modifying it at the same time and seeing those changes in real time. Teams takes that a step further. It still uses SharePoint, but inside the Teams application, you can do collaboration on documents. So it's very powerful in that sense. Plus, you can store files there. So you can always go back and look at that. And the real-time changes is the best part, especially when you have to be remote and you have to work on presentations. So how do we collaborate? So we can do it simultaneously or we can do it incrementally. The first one I talked about was incremental, right? Like I edit a document, I save it, somebody goes and opens it and tries to modify it. Simultaneously, it seems to be a better way to work if you can. It's not always realistic though, but somebody can send you a link inside of Teams and you can modify the file and they can see it as well. Because once the file's in Teams, everybody can see the changes in that channel or in that chat message. You can then talk because while you're modifying it, or you can simply pop open, hit the phone button, pop open and have a phone call. You don't have to do video. You can just do a straight direct Teams call, or you can do a video call. And then you can share screens in between. So if you want to collaborate in that way, you can share screens. You can even share individual applications. So if you've got a bunch of stuff open that you don't want somebody to see, you could share just PowerPoint, just Word, just Excel, whatever you need to share. You can do that very simply. So let's talk about how Teams is broken down. So there's a few aspects of Teams that's important. One, you have chat. Chat is when you're talking individually to one person, or you could be talking to multiple people. That's where you're probably having side conversations and things like that. So maybe you're engineering, like maybe one person or two people in your engineering team are just having a a conversation about something. A team is a common department inside your business or functional level. I'll give you an example. Sales department. A sales department would be a team. Marketing department would be a team. Maybe engineering would be a team. Things like that. That's where you would create a team. But sometimes a team is too broad. Maybe then you want to say, okay, well, I want people inside my team to be able to chat, but I want to keep track of that in another case. So that's where channels come in. So channels are underneath a team, and I'll show you this in the demo. A channel is a team is the high level, is the top level, and then underneath that you can have channels. Channels can be locked down to specific people. So if you have, like, let's say you have a sales department, and maybe you have a director of sales, but then you have sales managers. Well, you could have a channel that only the sales director and managers are in, and they can converse. But then underneath the whole company, or underneath the whole team, all the sales reps, everything can talk as well. And you can break that down into marketing. You could say, or actually let's go back to sales. Maybe there's a procurement department kind of underneath sales. You could have a channel for that. Engineering, you could have a channel at the top level for all the engineers, and then you can break that down individually. So let's say you have different types of engineers, you can actually break that down to channels underneath that, and they can talk and share files effectively. So let's talk about takeaway number 3. So what are the most common groups of collaboration in your organization? Think about that. Think about, how do we work today? And that's how you want to create the teams and create the channels based on that. So start with your org chart. That's the easiest way to do it. Like for us, we do it by department, but a lot of us, because we're small business, so a lot of us cross over into multiple departments. We're members of multiple teams and multiple channels. And a lot of that's going to be the case for a lot of you, and some of you, it might not be the case. People might only be part of like the company-wide team, and then maybe like one individual team like sales or marketing or accounting or finance. You want to begin kind of slow. So start with a company team. By default, they give you a company team. Everybody's part of it. You can do company announcements. You can share files. You can build things out. I'll kind of show you that. Less is more. And you want to build your team slowly, but you also want to kind of change as you're changing workflows internally of how you want to use it. You just want to start slowly and just change things over time. You don't want to just slam this in and say, do this now, because it's going to fail. And it might cause a little bit of kickback too from employees. So start at the top and kind of work down and start slow. So let's not forget about conferencing. So I see telephone numbers here. What I'm specifically talking about is audio conferencing. So for $4 each, team members can start audio conferencing similar to Zoom, where you can get a phone number to call into. You could do meetings without a phone number. If you 100% want people to join with a web browser or a mobile phone or just the Teams application, it's perfectly fine. A lot of times though, people do want to call into a meeting and they don't necessarily need the video part, or it's just like a conference call situation where you don't need video or you're not sharing anything. That $4 is nice because it's really inexpensive. For less than $50 a year, you can get what GoToMeeting charges you, $25, $30 a month for. So it saves you quite a bit of money, but also gives you a lot of flexibility to use Teams when you need to. One thing that they've also added in the last 2 months in the United States is you could turn Teams into a full-fledged phone system. Now that's additional cost, and I'm not going to cover it here because there's some aspects to it that you have to go over. But if you're looking at your phone system and you're saying, you know what, my phone system's really old, it's sitting there, it's 20 years old, 30 years old, I don't know what's going to happen if it breaks. And you start using Teams and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I can communicate with my team. I can communicate with my customers. Maybe I do want phone. Maybe I don't need a physical phone. Maybe because we can make phone calls from our mobile apps. So if the app is on iOS or Android, it integrates directly into the phone. You can make phone calls from it. You get voicemail. It has a phone directory and everything like that. So that's something to think about as you move forward using Teams. So takeaway number 4, definitely add audio conferencing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be added for everybody, but for key players or people that are hosting meetings all the time, sales reps in particular, probably a good idea to add audio conferencing for them so that they can be flexible with calls and everything. All right, this is for nerds only, so I apologize. I have to throw this in here. You can administrate teams on a global level or with a teams administrator. What that means is you can lock certain things down. We'll kind of go over that in a minute here. Teams has third-party app integration, so you can integrate other apps into it, but you probably don't want everybody in your company doing that. So it's important that things are locked down, so you don't just have come in one day and somebody's approved like an application that maybe the company doesn't approve. It violates a policy internally. There's also policy packages. There's external access and guest access. So sometimes you want to change things. There's also this annoying entry exit announcement that somebody says their name when they enter a meeting, and then they'll start talking, and then it'll then say, hey, blah, blah, so-and-so is here. And you're like, well, that's nice. We heard this person 10 seconds ago. I didn't need that. So things like that we can tweak. We can kind of tune this the way you need to. What they have added, and similar to Zoom, is that you have to admit people into a meeting. That's because of the Zoom bombing thing that happened where people were yelling profanities and things into meetings. You definitely don't want that. Having people being admitted into a meeting is the proper way to do it, and that's been integrated as well. Coming soon too. Right now, you can only show 9 people on a screen. That was a limitation. It was 4, now it's 9, and they're soon. I think it's gonna be 49. So they're gonna be adding a lot more to this. They're on an aggressive development schedule for improving teams. So here's another the takeaway that I was talking about. Turn off entry and exit announcements. It's super annoying. It ruins the meeting because it'll say so-and-so exited in the middle of somebody talking, and then you have to repeat it. So, and then as an organization, you have to decide how you want to handle external access. Do you want guests to be able to just join your organization? Because you can invite external companies into Teams channels. It's something that we don't do right now. All of our channels and Teams are only internal, mainly because we have information in there that if you misconfigure something, you could give somebody access to files they don't need access to. So it's something to keep in mind and take care of. So let's do a little demo time here. I'll switch my sharing. So this is our live team, so bear with me. I think I had this up to where I'm not going to show anything bad. So let's do this. And hopefully I don't show anything. So this is our company channel. You can actually see that there's files here. Maybe probably don't want to show that. Yeah. So there's some files in here that we have. So we have our background images. We have some Trustmark things that we were going through. You can create wikis. Wikis are we've done a little bit email signature for a wiki. You could make documentation in here and processes and say, hey, look, your email signature should look like this. And then employees can come in here and cancel or can copy and everything. If you click the add tab, this is where it gets fun. All of these things can be added inside of a team. So if you want a document library from SharePoint to be accessible, what document library is in SharePoint is really seriously just where you're storing your documents for the company. You can actually put that in here, and people can click on it and then browse to whatever files they need. You can put the online versions of Excel. You can do Microsoft Forms. These are all Office 365. Then you get into like, hey, third-party apps, and this is kind of where you want to lock this down. We don't lock this down right now because we control who has access to the meetings, who can add stuff to the teams. But internally, you probably want to make sure that you have a policy that applies to that. We do a lot of tuning and testing internally, so we leave a lot of the stuff open. As you can see, we have posts. We're talking about the Office 365 crashing from a couple weeks ago, and then we just recently got our HIPAA compliancy seal from the compliancy group. So celebrating that, we could do a little emojis on things. I can't show you a lot of these other ones because there's other stuff in there, but this is kind of how we've kind of sourced it. So this is a team at the top level. So like Techie Gurus Technical, and then we have General, Citrix, Microsoft. We're going to add more to this. Those are channels. So those are what I was talking about where we can lock things down. So marketing is the same way, general webinars. So we can keep the comments to where we need them, and we can also put documents in there. So when you have like a channel or a team, the files at the top are specific to that channel or team. So think about that when you're designing this, and then you'll figure out how to do this, and you can delete these really easily. You can, like, when you see a lock, that means that I've actually locked that down to certain people. So maybe there's 5 people in your sales team, or in our case, there's 3. Only 2 of us have access to procurement. Perfect example. That's why the lock is there. So I've specifically limited one person out of that. So that's an example of how that looks. You can see my calendar. If I click on this, I can schedule teams from there. We use Microsoft Planner internally. Again, I've added Planner there. I can click on files. I can't click on some of the stuff because some of the stuff's internal stuff that we can't show. If you want to do calls, anybody in Teams, so you can see that, we can call them directly from Teams. We actually have the phone system turned on right now, so I can actually dial a number and get voicemail and everything like that. The activity feed at the top, real quick, shows you like what people have sent you. So just in case you missed something. So this is very powerful. This is something that we think everybody should use, especially considering it's included with 365. And it really does help us work remotely. Like, we can collaborate on files directly inside of here. So if we open up a file like a Word document, whoever's in that channel or in that chat can collaborate effectively. So I'm going to stop this and we'll go back to the presentation. Okay. So what our offer here is, we know people need help. So if you want, you can click on that link. You can book a 30-minute free phone call with me. We can talk about Teams. We can talk about how you might want to integrate it in your business. We can talk about Office 365 in general. If you're not using it today, maybe it's something you want to start using. We use Office 365 internally for pretty much everything as far as like document creation and things like that. So we have other tools as well, but that's our primary tool internally. So we'll post these links too as well, like I said, on YouTube. And we want your feedback. So we're going to pause for questions here in a minute, but any feedback you have on this webinar series, please send it to info@techiegurus.com. We want to make content that's quality content and gives value to everyone out there. So if we missed something, if there's a mark on something, or we didn't explain something correctly, or I didn't do that, please just send us an email and let us know. You can also post a comment on the YouTube page as well. If you go on the video, you can also post a comment there and we'll read through those and respond accordingly. So at this time, Jenna, was there any questions?
I have a couple. So
Sure.
my first one is going to be, what is your professional takeaway? What is the benefit of Teams over Zoom or a different competitor?
So with Zoom, I think Teams, you can easily do the meetings without paying for Zoom. So Zoom isn't too expensive. It's much more affordable than like GoToMeeting or WebEx. But if you don't need that, you can do everything in Teams that you can do in Zoom. As far as a competitor, Zoom only competes at the webinar, maybe / meeting level. Slack is the other major competitor, and Slack free just has too many limitations. When you can pay as little as $5 a month to Microsoft to have an email address and access to storage and Teams, the value just isn't there with Slack. This is a much more valuable. This is a much higher value product at that price point. Plus, Microsoft is adding so many things inside of Office 365 that the value proposition with 365 is just exploding.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I have another question too. Is there a tip you could maybe give us that you have learned about Teams that we might not learn in training? Or is pretty much everything covered in the training links, or just something that you've discovered yourself that you find convenient?
Yeah, so be careful with files, dragging files in. When you put them in a chat, it uploads to a SharePoint site behind the scenes. If you upload that same file to like a channel, let's say doesn't need to overwrite it and store it in most places. So when you're sharing files, if you're only sharing it for like a temporary thing, it's not a big deal to put it in a chat. But if it's something that the rest of the team needs, definitely put it in the team and then communicate inside the team or the channel that you uploaded it in, because otherwise you're just going to have duplicate documents on the backside, and then that's just going to get confusing. So if you duplicate the document and somebody edits it in the chat and they don't edit it in the channel, you'll have two different versions, and then you have to track down which one to work on. So that'll get confusing. That's probably the biggest gotcha that I've seen. For the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. Designing the channels and teams is more important, I think, than anything. And then make sure, obviously, that you disable certain applications, because sometimes you just don't want people adding third party, especially if you're not sure what applications are running in your business. You definitely want to make sure you go through and start restricting what third parties can be enabled, because you don't want somebody to enable something and be able to just, open up some sort of security hole because of that.
Awesome. Well, that's it for our questions that we have. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Good questions. All right. So next week, we're going to do a little bit work from home security. This is going to be interesting. I'll talk a little bit about it, but home routers that people are using, they're going to Best Buy and things like that. There's so much that is wrong with that, especially when you're trying to protect your business. So I'll try to cover that a little bit more in depth next week. And then, again, subscribe to our socials, check out our YouTube. We'll probably send out a blast just to kind of have the YouTube link and everything like that. Something I think we didn't do last week that I think we need to improve on. So yeah, if you have any questions, again, shoot us an email. You can do a phone call. If you want to call us and we'll have a conversation. And then if you want, again, here's the booking link. Go ahead and book a meeting with me. I'm pretty easy to talk to. I'm a straight shooter, so I'll tell you exactly what I think. So out of that, we respect your time. Only took 27 minutes. That's pretty good. We're trying to keep these under 30 minutes to make sure that everybody, if you are doing it during your lunch hour, that you can, watch this and go eat and still have some time for yourself. So I look forward to talking to each and every one of you next week. And I think we're done. So have a good rest of the week.